Yo, guitar freaks, welcome back, welcome to the studio. Thanks for tuning in. Today it's time for another very nerdy guitar topic, and that is we're gonna talk about guitar picks. Exactly. So I'm gonna guide you through what I used throughout the years, and then I'm also gonna dissect really what I think are the most important ingredients for a good guitar pick. And in the end, I'm also going to disclose what I think is the ultimate guitar pick ever for me. Stay tuned. Okay, so now here's a chronological order of guitar picks that I've used throughout my career. So the first one I can really remember was, I guess when I was 13 or 12, was this Dunlop pick, about 1 mil. It has a bit of flex, and yeah, it's a nice pick, and it's also cheap. But yeah, durability wise, not so good. Same for the Steve Vai pick. I then tended to play the guitar picks of my heroes, so Steve Vai, Paul Gilbert, Yngwie Malmsteen, and all of those picks, the durability is very bad. So for this pick you have those rubber knobs, but they will come off just after a couple of hours of playing. And also this pick is very big, so actually when I play with this guitar pick, there's just too much of a pick standing out. I don't like to dig in like 1 centimeter into the guitar strings, so that one was then too much. The Paul Gilbert shape, that's the same shape as the as this Ibanez pick. It's also by Ibanez, but also durability wise very bad, and I think also the quality is not so good. So this one actually snapped in pieces, so I played this quite often and it snapped in the middle, or a piece broke off. So quality wise not good, shape wise very good for me. Then I went back to basically the Yngwie Malmsteen pick. Also not very durable, but it's cheap and it's effective. Then moving on, here, those are the Ibanez Grip Wizard picks. I thought this was my end-all be-all guitar pick, but unfortunately also the tip wears off very quickly, and also this sandpaper stuff, it gives you basically a nail treatment, so you're losing your nails, and also this goes away very quickly. So the quality for these is not very high. If it would remain in the way that you basically take it out of the box, that would be good. So then I moved on to a classic, the Jazz 3. This is a very nice guitar pick. The tone is a little bit dull on this one, but we're gonna get to that. And then I found the Flow series, so that was kind of interesting because suddenly the changing between strings feels very fluid, and that was also very nice to try. And for a while I played this and this Flow pick, but I just found that for my band needs and for the rock stuff I need more attack. So then I went in and got this Ultex 1.4 mil Dunlop pick, and that turned out to be a bit too long, but the attack on this one is very good. It does not flex, and you can really dig in, and also the material sounds very good. It's not dull, so the Ultex material is very, I would say, bright. And then I found that there are some even more premium offers, like the V picks. I tried a couple of those. Those are some acrylic material, and they stick very well to the hand, but generally also not feasible to use these in my day-to-day guitar business. They are too expensive, and yeah, in this example here, this is just too pointy, so it's very small and pointy, and might be interesting for just single string runs for me, but not for daily use. And then Having found the Ultex material and also the shape of the Jazz 3XL, then basically this is what I currently use, my workhorse. These are very cheap and very, very durable. So the Ultex material lasts long, retains its tip, it has a bit of a bevel. The grip is enhanced by the material on top. So this sticks out and you can really get your nails in there, and then the pick won't go away. And then the ultimate guitar picks for me are the Hawk picks, and yes, those have been heavily used. I think I've been using those for more than a year, and I don't use them every day, but in my best case scenario I'm using those to record something. They don't have any material on top. This is just heavily used here. Normally you don't use a guitar pick for 1 year, but with these it's possible. Feels very good. I think they're both 1.4 mil, and yeah, the material just feels superior to basically all the other picks here. Those are handmade. I have to say they don't look very good at the moment. And when you buy them new, they look very, very nice. But yeah, what's important is the feel and the tone, right? Doesn't have to look good. So guitar picks are actually the very first thing that touches the string from your right hand, if you think about it. And then that pick should definitely feel good to you and feel good in your hands and be suited to what you're trying to play. So different pick for a different player, certainly. So nowadays there's like a million guitar picks out there in all shapes and forms and materials and price ranges. So there's really an option paralysis on what you should get. And I guess 50 years ago, there was just 3 different guitar picks on the market probably. Fortunately, some manufacturers, they give out variety packs where you get maybe 5 or 6 different guitar picks from one family in one package. So you might get different thicknesses and of course different colors. Colors are also very important, and different shapes, and then you can try them out and find your favorite from the variety pack. And of course you also have to spend a bit of time with a guitar pick to find its strengths and weaknesses. You have to take it to the band rehearsal and see how it feels when you're really digging in, and you have to basically take it through different scenarios to decide, yes, that's my guitar pick. And once you've decided, the advantage is that you can get packages where the cost of one individual guitar pick is reduced, like a pack of 20 or a pack of 30. So I found 10 different nerdy aspects to differentiate between guitar picks, and they do influence one another. So my first one is the tone. Does it sound any good? It's dependent on the thickness, on the material, on the size, on the density. So that brings me to the next point, the material. So each material feels a bit different. And they used to make guitar picks from tortoise. Luckily, that's not the case anymore. But you have to say that some modern plastic guitar picks, most of them are plastic, some unorganic material. Some of them sound really, really, really bad and thin. That's really where the expertise of the guitar pick manufacturers comes in. So material-wise, nowadays you can get a Delrin, Tortex, Ultex. You can get acrylic picks that feel like glass, and you can get some very flexy elastomer kind of picks from Ibanez. I think there are even wooden guitar picks, metal guitar picks, and stone guitar picks. Each of them feels different. So if you have a Delrin guitar pick, for example by Dunlop, so this would be a Delrin guitar pick, and for me they feel very nice because the material basically sticks to my fingers and it cannot slip away. If we then go to an Ultex guitar pick, that feels compared to the Delrin, feels very slippery. So basically dependent on how sweaty and how much grip your fingertips have, you can also choose a different guitar pick. Because if you have very dry hands, then the Ultex might just slip away. So the next important thing for me is the size. So the size for me dictates what kind of a playing style I can play with a guitar pick. Because a very small guitar pick, I can really not go into a rock band rehearsal and feel the music, because I'm basically just playing with my fingertips. So for me, when I really dig in, there has to be some amount of pick that I can really dig into the strings. I'm not just playing like a light sweep picking, but I'm just hitting the guitar heavily. So another important aspect is the shape of the guitar pick. For me, there has to be a compromise between being pointy, because when it's pointy, then you can really hone in on one string and do some precise alternate picking. And the roundness for me makes it easier to hit the guitar and to strum or to sweep, to get between individual strings also. This guitar pick would be a quite extreme example of a sharp guitar pick. So this is a V pick. This is like a razor sharp edge. And yes, alternate picking on a single string feels very good with this one. But as soon as I want to use that in a rock band, this pointiness is really not helping me out, because it feels like I'm basically playing the guitar with like a stick. And when the shape is rounder, then I can really hit more strings with more ease, and it doesn't feel like it catches so much on the string. So the fourth characteristic for me is the thickness. For example, this is a super thick flow pick, and it has 3 mil, and the thickness is also proportional to the stiffness. So if the guitar pick is very stiff, then basically what you put in, there is no delay between getting the output. So basically your arm or finger movement directly gives you that output. However, when you have a pick with a flex that is very thin, then the pick will hit the string, and then there's a delay between releasing the string and attacking the string. When the pick gets thinner, you're more directly in touch with the string. There's just less material between your fingers and the strings. With 3 mil, I lose that kind of feel for the string. So I prefer something between 1 mil and 1.5, and nothing beyond and nothing below, because below, this kind of synchronicity between the right hand and the left hand suffers, because there is a delay between playing and getting the response from the string. So the next important aspect is the grip. So yes, that is very closely related to the material that is used, but also you have some picks where you have, I would say, grip enhancers. Like here you have some rubber knobs on top on this Steve Vai pick, or there are also picks like the Ibanez Grip Wizard series, where you basically have sandpaper on top and bottom. I played these for a while, and then always my fingernail would disappear, because of course you have the guitar pick like this, and then you basically just cutting away your fingernail and piece of the calluses on your finger. But you have a nice grip. On this flow pick, you also have the stamp on top and bottom. You can sink your nails in there, and the guitar pick cannot go anywhere. That's also a form of enhancing the grip, but what it also does, it decreases the feel for the pick and thus for the playing, because you're not directly in touch with the pick surface, but you basically touching the logo of the pick. An example for a very bad pick for people with dry hands is this one, because the Tortex doesn't have any grip. It's just very, very slippery if you don't sweat on your fingers. Also, there are picks where you have kind of like a hole for your thumb and your index finger printed into it. That can also be helpful. Another highly important consideration when getting a guitar pick is the bevel on the tip of the guitar pick. So a good example is the flow pick. So the flow pick was designed to have a rather round tip and also a bevel. You can glide through the strings in a very flowy motion, so it feels more fluid, of course, than a very sharp guitar pick. Yes, if you're playing lots of sweeping, then the flow pick will just enhance your playing. The bevel can also change your playing and your feel with the strings quite drastically. When you go into more like custom and more expensive guitar picks, you can even get ones that have a certain sided bevel or a custom bevel that is handcrafted. So that's next level. Another thing is the quality. Of course, when you buy cheaper guitar picks, you normally get the machine-made ones or the cheaper machine-made ones. A good example for me in this case would be this Dunlop Delrin 1.5 mil pick. It's a very nice pick. I used that for a very long time, but if you feel the edges, you can feel where it basically was cut out from, I guess, the plastic form where it's made. And also on the bevel, you can feel that it feels rather sharp. If I compare that with this V pick, which is probably 10 times the price, they don't have such kind of process residue or sharpness on the edges. The pick feels ready as you get it from the package. If you play this pick for a bit, then of course the edges, they will also come down. So another key consideration is the durability of the guitar pick. So how long does the guitar pick actually retain its shape? One of the guitar picks that I used for quite some time was this one. This is the Ibanez Grip Wizard series, and basically the same shape as this one, just a different thickness. The problem is just both that sandpaper goes away after using it maybe 3 or 4 times, and also the tip disappears. You can basically look at it when you're playing live or playing in a rock band and you're digging in. The tip just goes away, and I would have to buy hundreds of these to go through a year. So my decision, get a pick that actually lasts longer, where the material is more stable. I don't like buying hundreds of picks. I like picks that retain their shape and form. So guitar picks that unfortunately were not durable for my playing was also this guitar pick. That's the one basically that Yngwie Malmsteen also uses, but if you look at him live, I guess he throws maybe 100 of those guitar picks in the audience. When I play this one, yeah, the tip, it really just evaporates. Basically the same with the Steve Vai pick and with the Paul Gilbert pick. In this case, you can even see that I used it and it's not really pointy anymore. So these materials are really not made for the longevity. What I ended up with and what I discovered was the Ultex material. So the Ultex material is very stable. Of course, my favorite pick ever is the Hawk pick. The Hawk pick is very durable. It's the best sounding pick for me, and also the grip is the best that I found. My absolute winner is the Hawk pick, and I can only recommend you to get one of those. I'm not sponsored or anything. I'm just very convinced that this is the best pick for me. And the guy hand builds them, so the bevel and everything is basically handcrafted. Yes, you have to pay more for that, but you get like the perfect guitar pick. So this would be the Tone Bird, and there are also other shapes and forms of this guitar pick. So this is like a Jazz XL shape, which brings me to the last point, which is the price, of course. I cannot really afford to buy very expensive guitar picks all the time. And yes, when you play live, you lose them. And when you play in the rehearsal room, you lose them. I have decided to, most of the time, use the Dunlop Ultex Jazz 3 XL. So that's my go-to pick. And when I really want to record something here in the studio, or when I want the most enjoyment from my playing, I choose the Hawk pick. So these are actually the same teardrop shape, and there's not really a transition for me to go from one pick to the other because they're so similar. It's just that, yeah, the Hawk pick just feels better. It just sticks to my fingers, whereas this Ultex material, it doesn't really stick. Only with the print that you have on top, I can really grab onto it at any time and put my nails in there, and then it's also very, very reliable for me. So those were the 10 points for me that really make or break a guitar pick, and let's listen to them. That's it from my side. I hope you could benefit somewhat from this video, and leave me a comment. What's your favorite pick? I know I found mine, and I shall see you on the next video. Rock and roll.